That's what she screamed, not politely, not from the sidewalk, not with a knock on my door, but from my own backyard, her sneakers muddy from the flower bed she trampled when she climbed over my 6-foot fence like a raccoon on a mission. She was panting. Red in the face. Her hair matted with sweat from that hot yoga session she claims she does for inner peace. She was wearing a pink Lululemon set and raged like it was perfume. Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button, so you never miss a story like this, and also comments where you are watching from. Thanks. And me? I was standing there, just staring, spatula in hand, flipping ribs like a normal Saturday dad. My 5-year-old had just gone inside to grab lemonade, and thank God he did, because what Karen said next would have had him in therapy by Monday. You are violating Neighborhood Air Quality Regulation 3B, and I have every right to remove this grill from your property until the HOA can issue a fine. I blinked. You're standing in my backyard, Karen. She didn't blink. And you're poisoning my lungs. I was in tree pose and suddenly it smelled like a truck stop. My body is a temple, your grill smoke is literally desecrating it. That's when my wife came running out, hearing the commotion. Excuse me, did you just climb over our fence? Karen didn't even flinch. She pointed at the ribs sizzling on the grill like they were contraband. I've warned you before, she spat. We have rules in this community. No grilling between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. on weekends if it interferes with community wellness. Section 4A. You should have read the handbook. Karen, it's Saturday, I said, still trying to keep my voice steady. My son wanted ribs. We're in our own backyard. And there is no such rule in the HOA documents. Maybe you didn't get the latest revision, she said with a smirk. I helped rewrite it last month after Linda's son triggered my asthma with his charcoal pit. My wife was fuming now. This is harassment. Karen turned to her, face smug. Oh please. You've already got one HOA violation for your flower pots being too close to the curb. Don't make me report you again. You people don't seem to understand that peaceful living requires discipline. You people. That's what she said. I looked her dead in the eyes. Get out of my yard. But she didn't move. She reached for the grill lid like she was going to shut it herself, like she owned the damn thing. That's when I stepped in, blocked her hand, and said, you put one finger on this grill and I will personally escort you off my property. This is your final warning. She huffed and turned to leave, but not before making one final threat. Enjoy this little cookout, because I'm bringing this to the next HOA meeting. And once the board hears about this, you'll be getting a formal citation. Multiple citations. Try it, I snapped. But next time you climb my fence again, I'll have you arrested for trespassing. She stomped off toward the fence, but not before yelling, enjoy your artery-clogging grease feast, barbarian. The gate slammed shut behind her with a violent clang. I turned to my wife. She looked as furious as I felt. This woman is unhinged, she muttered. Did she really say she was going to confiscate our grill? I nodded slowly. And she said it with her whole chest, too. That was the moment I knew this wasn't over. Because this wasn't just about ribs. Or smoke. Or yoga. This was about power, her power. Karen had been on a control trip since the day we moved in. And this? This was her trying to remind us we didn't belong. But what she didn't realize was that I'd already started collecting every violation she'd committed, and unlike her, I had evidence. Videos. Screenshots. Witness statements. You see, I'm not just a dad who likes ribs. I'm also a tech guy. And the backyard camera she thought was just a plastic dummy? That thing recorded everything. Including her climbing over the fence and threatening to take property that wasn't hers. And oh, she was going to learn today, because if she thought I was the one who didn't belong here, she hadn't met the real me yet. So while the grill kept smoking, and the ribs kept searing with sweet honey glaze, I knew this was just the beginning. Karen declared war. But she climbed the wrong fence. And I was about to show her what happens when you turn a neighborhood into a battlefield. The next morning, a thick envelope landed on our doorstep with the weight of petty vengeance. It wasn't from a lawyer. I almost would have respected that. No, it was a hand-delivered HOA complaint packet, wrapped in floral stationery and smelling faintly of lavender and spite. On top was a sticky note written in the most passive-aggressive cursive I'd ever seen. Consider this your final warning before official sanctions. Namaste, K. I flipped through the papers, my anger rising with every page. Infractions listed included: unauthorized smoke release during community quiet hours, non-regulation grilling appliance within 8 feet of shared fence, environmental disturbance during residential wellness programming. She actually had the nerve to refer to her 11 a.m. downward dog routine as residential wellness programming. My wife took one look at the packet and laughed, that dry, bitter kind of laugh that comes out when the absurdity's too much to hold in. This woman's lost her damn mind. No, I said, voice calm but tight, she just picked the wrong neighbor. Because what Karen didn't realize, or had conveniently forgotten, was that 2 weeks ago, she had hosted a sunset margarita mixer in the community garden with amplified music and over a dozen people passed the 9 p.m. noise limit. And I had the whole thing on camera. I booted up my home security system, pulled the footage, and began documenting timestamps. Her guests, the loud laughter, the cheap disco lights flashing onto public property, all of it clear as day. I opened up the HOA handbook, the real one, and highlighted every single rule she had broken that night. And that was just the beginning. Because it wasn't just the party. I remembered the time she dumped 6 bags of mulch directly onto the storm drain. I'd helped her clean it, stupidly thinking she just didn't know better. And the time she spray-painted her mailbox gold for aesthetics, despite the handbook clearly stating standard black only. Oh, Karen wanted a paper trail? She was about to get a damn scroll. By Thursday, I had compiled a 36-page digital report with video evidence, dates, community codes, and even a side-by-side comparison of her ornamental gnome display, which exceeded the 3 gnome maximum by 4. I emailed it straight to the HOA board under the subject line: documented violations by board member Karen Holloway, request for formal review. And then I waited. I didn't have to wait long. That Saturday, we received an official email from the HOA president, not Karen, saying there would be a special review meeting held the following Wednesday. Attendance was optional, but highly recommended due to recent events. When I showed the message to my wife, she raised an eyebrow. You think she knows it's coming? She's about to find out, I said. And I'll be there, front row, ribs in hand if I'm allowed. But Karen, oh, she must have felt it coming in the air like barbecue smoke, because the next day she went full DEFCON 1. She walked up and down the street handing out flyers titled "Protect Our Peace, Say No to Backyard Grilling." She went door to door like a paranoid politician, preaching about toxicity in the neighborhood, about air pollution, and even threw in something about meat being a spiritual blocker. She knocked on the Santori's door, and Mrs. Santori, bless her Brooklyn soul, told her to go stuff it. She tried convincing the Parkers, too, but their kid loves my ribs so much he fakes allergies just to stay home when I cook. Karen left their porch humiliated. Then she came for us. Again. It was Tuesday evening. We were watering the flowers when she appeared at the gate, holding her phone out like it was a weapon. I'm giving you one last chance, she said, eyes cold. Withdraw your complaint. Or I'll file a harassment claim. You climbed into my yard, I reminded her. You threatened to steal my property. I could have called the cops that day and had you in cuffs. You wouldn't dare. Oh, I would. But instead, I'm doing something better. I'm exposing you to the very people you claim to represent. She sneered. They love me. I crossed my arms. They're tired of you. Her fingers curled tight around her phone. This community runs on order. Not chaos. And you? You are chaos. No, Karen. I'm a man who grills in his own yard on a weekend with his family. You're the one climbing fences and screaming about spiritual gases while trespassing. She looked like she wanted to say more, but for once, she couldn't. Because deep down, she knew. Her mask was slipping. And her little kingdom? It was starting to crumble. Wednesday night, the HOA clubhouse buzzed like a beehive poked with a stick. It was supposed to be a review meeting, but you could feel it, this was a reckoning. Every neighbor showed up. Even old man Clancy, who hadn't attended a meeting in 3 years, shuffled in with his walker and a bag of popcorn. Karen arrived late, on purpose, of course. She swept into the room like she was on stage, wearing a peach blazer, yoga pants, and a forced smile. But her eyes flicked around nervously. She could feel it too. Something had shifted. The HOA president, Melissa, tapped the mic. We're here tonight to address several neighborly disputes, most notably, a recent formal complaint involving board member Karen Holloway. Karen stood immediately. Excuse me, I was not informed that I would be publicly discussed like some criminal. This is an abuse of my privacy. Melissa blinked. Karen, you're a public board member. You serve this community. When a documented complaint includes over 30 pages of neighborhood violations. Karen gasped. 30? 36, I called out from my seat. Color-coded. Laughter rippled through the room. Karen flushed red. Melissa continued. We've reviewed the report. There is video footage of multiple code violations, including, but not limited to, unauthorized events, misuse of common areas, decorative infractions, and, most notably, trespassing onto a neighbor's property and attempting to seize personal items. Karen turned to the room, her voice rising in fake indignation. Are we really taking grilling this seriously? Are we going to let smoke and ribs dictate our moral compass? I stood up. No, I said, voice steady, loud enough to carry. We're taking your abuse of power seriously. You didn't just make a complaint. You climbed my fence, threatened to take my grill, and then tried to humiliate me with a smear campaign about my family. This isn't about barbecue. This is about a bully who finally got called out. Karen's mouth opened to fire back, but before she could, Mrs. Santori stood too. She tried to tell me what to plant in my own garden, she said. Said lavender was too invasive. She shamed me for putting up Halloween decorations, a young mom added. She reported me for letting my granddaughter ride a tricycle on the sidewalk, old man Clancy grunted. It was like a dam broke. One by one, voices rose, calm at first, but growing with the kind of frustration that had been simmering under the surface for months, even years. Stories poured out, Karen's fake smiles, her backhanded compliments, her constant surveillance. Everyone had a Karen story, but no one had spoken up, until now. Karen was drowning in it. She tried to defend herself, voice cracking. I was trying to protect the aesthetic harmony of our community. Melissa sighed. Karen, the role of the HOA is to support peaceful living. Not impose personal vendettas or spiritual wellness codes not found in any official document. Karen turned to me, desperate now. He's trying to humiliate me. He's weaponizing the rules against me. I held her gaze. No. I'm just playing by the rulebook you wrote, and finally applying it to you. Silence fell. Then, Melissa spoke the words everyone was waiting for, effective immediately, we are voting to suspend Karen Holloway from her HOA duties pending further review. A new interim board representative will be chosen next week. Gasps echoed around the room. Karen looked like she'd been slapped. She stared at Melissa, then at me, then at the crowd, all those neighbors she thought she ruled over, now looking at her with nothing but exhaustion. She turned and stormed out, her yoga mat flopping behind her like a defeated flag. A week passed, but the air still sizzled with leftover drama. You'd think things would quiet down after Karen got suspended from the HOA board, but no. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot. It started small. One morning, my trash can mysteriously rolled 2 houses down the street. Then, my mailbox went missing, literally unscrewed from the post. And then, one night, someone left a passive-aggressive note on my door in glittery cursive: "Smoke belongs in hell, not in neighborhoods." I wasn't stupid. I knew it was her. I even saw her peeking from behind her curtain like a discount Scooby-Doo villain. But I didn't react, because I knew what was coming next: the block party. The annual neighborhood block party was the one day a year everyone came together. Kids on scooters, barbecue stations, potluck tables, face painting, you name it. And for the first time in 7 years, Karen wouldn't be running it. I'd been asked to help organize. And you know what I said? Only if we get a grill station. It was poetic justice. We set it up in the exact spot where Karen used to do her weird morning energy dances. I got 2 smokers going and laid out ribs, brisket, and skewers like a king preparing for battle. My secret sauce? Smoked honey chipotle glaze. The kind that hugs your soul before setting it on fire. Everything was running perfectly until she showed up. Karen, in all her uninvited glory. She strutted down the middle of the street in an all-white tennis outfit, holding a clipboard like some exiled queen returning to reclaim her throne. She had that forced smile again, the one that says, "I'm pretending to be friendly so I can stab you later." People stared, unsure of what she was doing there. Her suspension was still active. But she didn't care. She walked right up to my grill and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I just came to check if the fire department was informed." I'd hate for anyone to violate our community's air purity guidelines again. I didn't even look at her. I just flipped a rack of ribs and said, "You smell that, Karen? That's what freedom tastes like." She flinched. Then, like the universe had cued it perfectly, my little niece ran over holding a paper plate. "Uncle, can I have more smoky sauce, please?" I ladled it on with a smile. "Of course you can. It's community approved now." That's when Karen lost it. "I can't breathe with all this smoke," she yelled suddenly. "This is intentional harassment. He's trying to smoke me out like a rat." People turned, wide-eyed. A few kids actually stopped mid-bounce on the inflatable castle. "Karen," Melissa said, stepping forward, "this is a public community event. If the smoke bothers you, you're welcome to step back or go home." But Karen wasn't backing down this time. "I know what this is," she screamed. "He's trying to turn everyone against me. But I'll show you all. I still have friends in the county zoning board. This grill? This whole setup? It's about to get shut down for good." I set down my tongs and faced her fully. "Karen, you can bring all the zoning codes, ordinances, and chakra complaints you want. But this time, the neighborhood isn't scared of you. You lost. The only thing that's toxic around here is you." And right then, as if karma itself were grilling up a twist, one of the kids shouted, "Look! She's on TikTok." Someone had been live-streaming the entire confrontation. Karen yelling. Karen threatening people. Karen being, well, Karen. Phones popped up everywhere. People were recording. Watching. Sharing. She realized it a moment too late. Her face went pale as ash. She turned and stormed off again, for the second time in 2 weeks. But this time, no one followed her. No one defended her. Not even her husband, who was awkwardly holding 2 plates of potato salad and quietly turned around like he didn't know her. The block party? It carried on without a hitch. The kids danced. The neighbors laughed. And the grill? It kept smoking. Peacefully. Happily. Legally. 2 weeks after the block party, it was like the whole neighborhood had exhaled. People were smiling more. Kids played longer. Even the local mailman stopped to joke with me about Barbecue Gate. The storm had passed, or so I thought. Then came the knock. Not a polite knock. A summons knock. I opened the door to find a man in a pressed shirt and clipboard in hand. "Are you Mr. Liam Carter?" "Yes." "You've been served." I took the envelope, confused. As he walked away, I opened it. Karen was suing me. The claim? Reckless endangerment, intentional community disruption, and, my personal favorite, olfactory assault. She was accusing me of deliberately causing her emotional distress with the smell of my barbecue. Said it triggered her smoke-induced yoga trauma. I laughed at first. Honestly, it was so ridiculous, it almost felt like a prank. But when I brought the letter to Melissa, who had taken over HOA leadership, her smile faded fast. She's serious, Melissa said. She's trying to use this as leverage to get her position back. If she can paint herself as the victim of community aggression, she thinks the board will reconsider. I should have been angry. Furious, even. But I wasn't. I was tired. Tired of playing defense. Tired of pretending that people like Karen don't win sometimes, just because they scream the loudest. So I decided, this time, I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to tell the whole story. Court day arrived. Karen walked in wearing black sunglasses like she was some victim in a spy thriller. Her lawyer looked bored, probably realizing he'd signed up to defend a woman who thought ribs were a weapon. When the judge called me up, I stood tall. And I spoke from the heart. I didn't bring a lawyer, I said. Because truth doesn't need one. I told them everything. The fence. The trespassing. The confiscation of my grill. The block party. The TikTok video with 2.6 million views, yeah, that happened. I even pulled it up. But what I said next silenced the room. I served in the army for 6 years. I came home with scars you can't see. Barbecuing in my backyard isn't just a hobby. It's therapy. The smell of oak smoke? That reminds me I'm not in a war zone anymore. It reminds me I'm home. Alive. Safe. Karen snorted. So I turned to her directly. And I would have told you that, Karen, if you ever bothered to ask before climbing over my fence and calling me a terrorist because of a smoky brisket. The judge stared at her. Then back at me. Then sighed. Case dismissed. She tried to argue, but the judge wasn't having it. If I see one more frivolous claim from this address, he said, I'll hold you in contempt. Karen lost again. In public. In front of people. But this time, she didn't just walk out. She cried. Tears. Real ones. Not because she lost, but because she realized no one was standing with her. Even her husband had stopped showing up to her drama. A week later, a moving truck showed up in front of her house. Gone. Just like that. No goodbye, no confrontation. She left the neighborhood in silence, a rare, unfamiliar sound. People celebrated, but I didn't. I grilled that weekend, sure. But not to gloat. I grilled for the neighbors who supported me. For the veterans down the block. For the single mom across the street. For the little girl who kept asking for smoky sauce. And I realized something. Karen wasn't the enemy. Not really. She was just the loudest shadow in a place that needed more light. Sometimes the people who make the most noise are the ones most afraid of being ignored. Doesn't make what she did right. But it makes you think. Today, my grill's still there. Right where she tried to steal it. But now, next to it? A wooden sign my niece made. It reads. This is not just smoke. This is peace. And every time I light that fire, I remember. Some people try to take away your peace, because they've lost their own. But no one can steal what you stand for, unless you let them.